Hello on the Rockers. It's our music episode with social media star Bailey Rose Spinn, hot off of her bi-coastal My Worst Enemy tour, with singer-songwriter and spiritualist Derek Jameson is here to chat about his new single, are you ready? Take Me for Granted, and it's a little bit steamier than we've seen him. We're going to talk about it all with me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass, let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Oh my God, that's a new sound effect. Buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. Okay, we're talking about music today. Swifties, y'all are crazy. I don't mind Taylor Swift. I don't love Taylor Swift. I don't even get her name right. I don't hate Taylor Swift. I don't enjoy Taylor Swift. But she's there. How is this girl taking over the world? She set box office records with her Era Tour movie, which is a movie of the concert that you all sold your firstborn to go see, and now you're going to see the movie of what you paid already to see, and you're seeing this movie 3 or 4 times. That's what people are seeing. Swifties are seeing the movie 4, 5 times. And I live across the Grove in Los Angeles, and she premiered her movie there, and she moved it up a day for security reasons. Nobody told us. We were literally blocked in, our whole complex, 11,000 people in this complex, because she was there all day. I couldn't even order my Uber Eats at all on that day. That's a hate crime. I'm just letting you know, Taylor Swift. But I really want to know the fascination. She's great, like I said, but she's not Jesus. The show's presented by Straw Hut Media and taped at UBN Go Studios. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app, a Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast. Hello, East Coast. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email, book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I'll show up. I'll host. Send us your comments, guest requests, guest questions, and we got your questions for today, by the way. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. All right. Our guest of the hour, Derek Jameson, a singer-songwriter and dance artist, currently based in Los Angeles. His career began in live shows when he was just 15, and he was in various productions being filmed up in the Bay Area. And at a very young age, he began writing, composing, and performing his own music. And we're gonna find out why. He's written songs for producer DJs Morgan Page, Bijou, Matroda, Kalina Zanders, and he's worked with songwriter to the stars Jessica Hoover and producer Trent Park. His music spans worldwide cultures, and he has even taken a show on tour in Asia, by the way. He was past opening act for pop sensations Jaron Chris and Danity Kane. He won the Best Pop category at the New York Independent Music and Film Festival. He's been nominated for his music in independent film circuits and featured in film and television soundtracks. And along with music, he works with countless people in spiritual development and is a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner. I can't believe I got that. It's before the vodka hit. Who guides people in past life regression work, and he's worked with a bunch of celebrities. And so we're going to talk about that because I'm fascinated. And it started around Halloween, I think. That's when it started. And today he used these skills for celebrities, like I said, all in Hollywood. So we're going to get the tea on that. Please welcome Derek Jameson.
And the crowd goes wild.
And the crowd goes wild, and the spirits go wild.
The spirits go wild. They can't see them, but I hear
they're like,
them.
knock, knock. It's Judy Garland. She's here for her vodka. She's like, please welcome also Bailey Rose Spinn. Went from being bullied in school and not loving college to securing more than 18 million followers across all social platforms, quickly rising in the content creator atmosphere. She first became viral on TikTok for her fun and relatable content and would eventually start releasing covers of songs on her YouTube channel in preparation for her debut in the music biz. With one of her most exciting years to date, this Gen Z punk rock musician recently released her debut EP, My Worst Enemy. Along with new music, she also embarked on her bi-coastal tour for the album, which you're going to get the 411 on that. Please welcome Bailey Rose Spinn.
Hello. I never know what to do.
It's so funny because like you're so used to being on the camera, but in a very controlled certain way, right?
Oh yeah, I'm the one in control. It's completely different because I'm like, I don't even know what I look like.
You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. So do you.
Oh, she's got it. She knows how to flirt, girl. Yeah, it's been a long day. How dare you? Anyway, it's been a long day. But I want to talk about what I like to start before we get into the nitty gritty of music and where you guys are now. I like to know where you came from and what kind of kid you were, because who we are as kids kind of develops into our certain talents. And you guys have such a totally different story. You were born in conservative part of Virginia. You were obsessed at an early age, though, with all things like entertainment, social media, fashion. Where did that come from? What first got you attracted to those aspects of entertainment?
I was super into social media when it first came out. Like, I remember having the first version of Snapchat and being so excited. And I watched all of the YouTubers in like 2015 when it was really, really big, like Emma Chamberlain and all the makeup artists. And I just looked up to them for being able to like be themselves and that people wanted to follow with them. And I was just so amazed by them. And I was like, I want to share my personality and like have a group of people who just get it. And that was a big interest of mine. And then it kind of escalated from there. I was always a theater kid.
Were you?
A little, yeah.
Okay, I could see that. I forget how young you were, too. So you said I was obsessed with social media growing up. I had a beeper growing up. She's like, what's a beeper? That's what I had. That was my high-tech, my foray. Social media at first was MySpace. MySpace, yeah. You're not old enough for MySpace.
I had MySpace.
Okay.
MySpace did me right for music, I'll tell you that.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
MySpace was really kind of the space for music. But on the other side of the coast, you were born and raised in the Bay Area, born in San Jose. And that's like we consider like a very cultural, very open type of area, very into the arts. Is that how you first got inspired?
I got inspired because I was heavily bullied as well. And so, like, from being
like
a little
in
kid.
eighth grade and all the way...
Even, like, 5th grade. I mean, I had just hung out with girls a lot, and so it started there with boys being like, you're a girl, because I only hang out with girls. And then it just grew and escalated from there. So I just I had to channel the pain into something. And so then I started doing music, and then I just grew it.
We got into Tori Amos. I hate to tell you something. She's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I mean she's literally the reason.
She's
like
the queen of depression.
I saw her do an MTV Unplugged, and then that was like it was like a message that said you have to do this. Yep. Yeah. You have to do this, and this is how you're going to move all of this, and I've done it ever since. So
how did you became obsessed with her, or you became inspired by her? How did you manifest that into creating your own music at such an early age?
I mean, tying in spiritual stuff, I think that we have past life energy that we're connected to. And I think that when a moment happens that it needs to happen, it coincides and we awaken a part of our soul memory. Because when I started playing the piano and singing and writing, it was so instant and so easy for me.
So people just have that talent. They can walk up to a piano and they can come up with a melody.
Yeah, honestly, it's past life related. Depending on what people believe in, but your soul has memory from all these other lifetimes that you live accumulated to this moment right now. And so when you choose certain pathways, it will awaken that, and you'll just start bringing that energy through. Like it's natural, my piano teachers were like, you're a prodigy at this. You don't even need to do it. You do it by ear. And I'm like, yeah, it's just natural.
I think I was a baker in my past life because I love bread.
Yes.
Me
too. Love that.
Girl.
Mine made cake.
Please look at you.
That's why you asked me about Olive
sweet
Garden.
tooth.
Yeah. I was like, unlimited breadsticks. I love that. But I took piano for 4 years, and my teacher was like, this maybe not for you after 4 years. It was not happening.
Yeah, sure.
You can't force like a talent.
No, you can't.
You can study it, but you can't force it.
Yeah, I think we have it naturally, and I think that we just get that moment that inspires us to do the art that we're meant to do at the right time.
Now, you've talked openly about the bullying that you received in school. What were kids bullying you about?
So back to the bread kind of thing. I actually was a little bit overweight growing up, and that's really hard as a kid because I never really saw myself that way until people started to make fun of me, and then it just turned into something that completely spiraled, and people would make things up about me. And I also struggled with acne a lot, so that in combination, people were really, really mean to me and would call me pepperoni face and make fun of me for basically the way I look, and that's really difficult growing up. And it definitely plays into my music now. A lot of inspiration from people bringing me down and making me feel like I wasn't good enough, or, you have to change aspects of yourself to be good enough. But that is not how you should view anything. And I think the kids are wrong for that. And you really should never judge someone based on their weight or what their skin looks like. It makes literally no difference to the person. at all.
Kids just are mean.
Yeah.
And now they can hide behind social media. They can send a mean message. They can make a mean comment. And that's even worse because if you're going to be mean, at least have the guts to be mean to my face. You know, like then I can punch you in the face. But, you know, but it's a whole different energy that the young generation has to deal with. And I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. It's even worse because it's in person and then it's at home on your social media. That's very damaging. And then you went to San Diego State. You went clear across the U.S. What inspired you to? You just wanted to get away from everything.
Yeah,
You like the
exactly.
beach.
I did. I was like the only college I toured. I also toured NYU, and something about California always was so fun to me. I like the warm weather. I'm from Virginia, and we had like the seasons are all over the place. It'll be 14 degrees, and the next day it's 75 and raining, and we don't get it. So that was always of interest to me. And then I toured SDSU, and it just made sense. And so I did try to get as far away as I possibly could, but
Literally,
I
like-
didn't expect to
like,
get in. I
And-
was like, no way.
And you did. Now, was it culture shock going all the way from? What were some of the things that were the hardest for you to get used to being in California?
Oh, it was so many things. There were so many different styles. I'm like, had not seen all these different kinds of people, and there were surfer people and skater people, and everybody was like so authentically themselves. And in Virginia, I feel like it all kind of looks the same after a point, and it was so many different things to see. And I also had never lived by the beach, and all the scenery and all the people act completely differently than they did in Virginia. And it was more open, for sure. I liked it a lot more immediately. I was like, this is my place, my people.
No offense to Virginia, but it's like walking through like a fake community. Like everything looks so clean and fake and no like personality. It's like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, that's how it feels to like live there too. It's just not, there's nothing to do. It's
Yeah.
not fun. You get bored.
I want to know, so it kind of during that time that your TikTok started to take flight, so how did you turn that energy from being bullied, because that affects your confidence, that affects everything, but you were able to turn this around, and even with that still on your mind, you're like, okay, let's turn the camera on myself and let's express myself through TikTok. I mean, that's a total turn of confidence. How did that happen?
It was because of COVID. We were completely out of school and I had nothing to do. And so, like everyone else, I was on my phone and I had seen someone do a video that was like a little joke. And I thought, well, why can't I do that? You know, and even though there are all those people judging you, watching your videos, you can't even really feel it when you're posting the video. You can see it in some of the comments, but I felt like a little bit invincible posting online. Like I was reaching a new audience and they were supportive of me and what I was doing. And I was like, wait, there are people who are nice. I just have to reach them and really keep pushing myself. But I'm glad that I kept going in the beginning because it was a fun thing to do during COVID and it never was really meant to be a full-time job. But
Look what happened.
well, it worked out that way.
When did you kind of get the idea that you were going viral?
It was going really quickly when I started posting every single day. I had made like one little skit, and after maybe 7 days, I had gained like 350,000 followers. And it was
That's like everybody's dream. That doesn't happen to everybody. I'll just let you know. Yeah.
It was my dream too, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And then I had the most persistence you have ever seen, and I would wake up every single day and like make a video on the dot on time, and I stayed in my lane, and I think that's what kind of excelled it out of control too.
It's that consistency. It's the hustle. You know, people think they can do a few funny posts and then they're going to go viral. And that's not it. In any part of the entertainment industry, you don't just, I mean, if it does happen to you, that's, you know, once in a million chance. But, and I want to go back to you. Your first kind of professional gig was when you were 15 years old. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
Do you remember that performance?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was very shut off. I also broke out and had acne problems when I was younger. I mean, people made fun of me to that anonymously.
Look at these gorgeous people here. I'm just letting you know, if you're having any issues as a kid, this is what you're going to turn into. Well, not always. It's not if you're a baker in your past life. But you had to deal with all of that.
Yeah, yes, and actually I was I worked at luckily I got a job at a Paramount theme park, so I got to do stage shows as my first job for years, and I would just keep auditioning and they would keep hiring me. So that was my first job. But
That's a tough job because you're doing like what? How many shows per day?
like depending on the show, 5 to 7 shows.
And it's like this.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
not your
you have
music.
to be like on.
Yeah.
But I also was breaking out at the time because I started taking Accutane.
I was on Accutane.
Oh my!
Criminal.
So you all know. So imagine being
And it would
in
dry you
front-
out.
Imagine him performing in front of people and having the worst of it. Like just and so it was a hard time. But you know what I think we're meant to go through those really hard
build your
experiences
skin.
and show up
Yeah.
and like be like, you know what, you have to be stronger in your life. So we're given these opportunities that kind of ask us to be stronger, just like posting videos and doing that, something where we would feel necessarily like scared about. We do the thing that we're scared of and then we overcome it.
What's funny, and on stage, I come from a theater background, a musical theater. It's like it was my safe space. You know, I could be a character. I could be in a costume, under the makeup, whatever. It didn't matter what my sexuality was. It didn't matter what class I was from. It didn't matter anything because for that moment in time, I was somebody else, and it became safe. So we know how open the theater is in terms of like family, and you just feel welcome. And you were signed with the label, actually. You had a whole production team, and you decided that wasn't for you. That's a pretty big decision.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, you like want to get signed by a label and you
Yeah.
want to do all of these things and you want to go on tour, but like at the same time that I got signed under this label, it did not go at all how they said it was going to go. It was really bad, actually, and everything that they said in the contract did not go that way. And then at the same time, I was going on tour in Asia, which was also a very hard experience. That was one of the most challenging experiences I've had as an artist. And after that, it kind of like life changed for me. And it actually was part of an awakening period for me. So I dropped them and I said, you guys haven't upheld anything. And it just felt like a big lie. So I wanted to get far away from that as possible. And so that's why I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. My peace and who I am is not worth being on a label.
And you've talked about they were trying to manufacture what their vision of you was without understanding who you really were.
Well, sure. I mean, as an artist, and if you get signed with a group, you're a product, and you get sold as a product, and they're going to mold you to be a product. That's why it's important that you develop relationships, and your relationships here in LA or wherever else in your career are going to be the most strongest, most important things that you create so that your integrity stays intact and you don't get swayed into directions you don't want to be in.
And that means burning bridges too. We think LA is such a big industry. Everybody knows everybody and everybody talks.
Sure.
It's so easy to burn bridges, and I keep telling people that do not burn bridges. It'll come back to haunt you.
Sure. And I mean, I know, I'm around a lot of actors who are in things, and they have to really watch what they do, because if you say one thing or you say something that happened, those bridges will be burned, and then people do talk, you know.
That goes for sleeping with your co-stars too.
Oh.
Spilling the tea. Now, what were the biggest obstacles going to Asia? Because, I mean, not only is it a totally different culture, the audiences are different over there, too. What were your biggest challenges?
You know, it's you don't really see into that life. You don't know because we're not allowed to see. So when you go, you realize that you are a product, like I was just saying. And people think that they can do whatever they want to. Like, I've never been touched so much in my life. And it was cool. We were at the most insane clubs you've ever seen. Like, we think Vegas has cool clubs.
Yes.
No, China has the most insane clubs and I was like, this is where I'm performing at.
It's opulent. It's money.
It is insane. But the thing is, you're a product, and they'll be like, here, this table bought you. Go to that table. And you'd have to go over there and be this little product. And you're like, what is going on here? And people can touch you, and it was very challenging to hold, like, you know, especially from like my past and things that I've been through. It was a very big challenge to be like, oh, these people are just touching me now, you know. So it was a lot of challenging, and there was also some racist stuff that would take place that really blew me away by being there. So it was a challenging time, and it was over Christmas and New Year's. So I was like, this is the loneliest thing.
Oh my
I've
God,
ever
how
experienced.
sad. But then you have all this new music from it, so.
Yeah, Mom, but I also wrote a bunch of stuff, and I went to the mall every day, so I was like, what? I mean, come on.
Talk about big decisions. You made the decision to just leave college. You're like, this is just not for me. That's a pretty big decision. Number one, how did your family feel? Number two, what inspired you to be like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to focus on this now.
I didn't tell my family right after I did it. I told my mom, I think, when I was thinking about it, and after I had already applied like for an apartment in Los Angeles, and I kind of had already made the decision myself. But I told my mom, and she was a little weary about it. She was like, "Okay, you're 19. This is a big decision just to leave school in the middle of the year and be like, I'm up and done." But she was supportive. She got behind it. It took her like a week, and then she was like, "If that's what you want to do, like, I believe in you, but you're going to be a full-blown adult on your own. You got to figure it out." And I was like, "Okay, I understand." But my dad is a little less lighthearted, so it took me a while to tell him, and now he's the most hilarious, supportive dad you've ever seen. He was wearing a business shirt at my tour and put my tour t-shirt over top of his button up, and I was like, "You are the cutest person I have ever seen in my entire life."
That was like a fashion trend.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I was like, "That looks kind of good." I'm with it.
Posting social media content, like you said, you were in the groove. You were doing it every day. That's a lot of pressure for somebody at such a young age, because it's like, wake up, this is your day, post, edit, and then you have to look at likes, you have to look at comments, you have to see what's trending. That all plays on your mind. How did you deal with that kind of pressure? It's like, gotta post every day.
Sometimes it's a lot, and I'm not saying I think it's an easy job, and I think it's really fun to be able to express myself every day, but sometimes I wake up not wanting to put myself
And it's hours. People don't understand. It's not just me doing, and put it out there. And especially what you do, and how you've grown, and in just the few years you've been doing it, how it's grown. But like all the edits and all that, it's insane.
Yeah, and as I grow, my content is growing too. So maybe it used to take me like 15, and now it will take me 45 minutes to make one video just on the editing part alone, not even filming or like scripting or planning it out. And some days that's just a lot. It's a lot to put yourself in front of a camera, especially if I'm not feeling so confident or
you need
sad.
A day off.
Yeah, if I'm sad, I do take my days off. I've learned that the hard way. I used to push myself way too hard and just keep going and going, and I was like, "Girl, it's okay. It's still gonna be there tomorrow. Take a break. Go get some Chick-fil-A. Take a breath."
No, not Chick-fil-A.
Go touch grass.
But I want to. Your regular content was doing so well. So why shift into the music aspect? And I know you've talked in other interviews that music has just always been a part of your life. But as a career choice to be like, we're going to do this now.
It was very easy for me, and I kind of took my platform as an opportunity to express myself even further. And music was something I always really, really loved. Growing up, I played like all the instruments that I possibly could, and it definitely was a 360, and people were not expecting it. Like when I started posting my first covers, people were not very happy about it, and they didn't really understand what
Fans
I was
are
doing.
So weird. They get so into this is who you are and what you do. It's like, no, I'm a person and my journey changes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they were saying to me. They were just like, "You should make POVs. You can't sing. You shouldn't sing." And like looking back on these old covers now, I'm like, "Oh, I could have sang that way better. Like I could do better now." But they were learning experiences, and I was able to fight through all those hate comments and continue, which I'm happy for. But it was just always something that spoke to me, and I felt like I had a story to tell, and it definitely has found its people despite the social media hate comments.
Well, and that is tough to get through. And it's also at the chance of losing your fans. It's like, oh, she's doing that now, I'm not going to do it. There's makeup influencers I followed, and all of a sudden they shift and they do something different. It's like, you are in danger of losing all that fan or all those fans. And we know, the stigma is an influencer releases a song. It's usually an auto-tuned mess. But what you shared yourself, you shared your growth journey, which I think is so important for artists to see where you start and where where you grow. And I think sharing that experience it's not, let's put a polished fake product out there. This is who I am, and this is my journey. And, kind of being pigeonholed, like that's a whole other subject. Derek, I know because of your looks and fitness and, you're part of the gay culture as well. There's that, okay, he's the pretty boy, whatever. It's like, well, no, my music has many levels to that. How have you dealt with that kind of assumption? It's like, okay, pretty boy, I'm going to put him with all the auto-tuned pretty boys. And honestly, in the gay culture, that's a big pandemic. Is all of the auto-tune out there, people saying that they're a musician and they're just not.
I mean, I think everybody has something to say, and they want to find what their channel is, so people dabble in music. But I find that the people that are meant to do music are going to keep doing it in the long run, and maybe that's a season for some people, and that's fine. That's okay too. I did do a lot of the gay club I did a lot of the LA club circuit, years ago with dancers and aerialists, and like I did every West Hollywood gay club you can imagine. And it was difficult because I got made fun of all the time. People would write in publications about me,
Make assumptions as to your
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, all kinds of things. And it was very hard to deal with that inner peace when you come to that. But I always knew I had something to say. And I started music when I was 15 years old. So it was like, this is something that is just me, and I can't define myself by that judgment that people had. And honestly, even stepping back into those clubs like a few weeks ago to do a live performance of Take Me for Granted was like, oh, that was a huge breakthrough for me, because I had stepped out of that whole circuit because I know how people judge us and what they'll do. And you're standing there being like, look at me, I'm about to do this song, and it was one of the most thrilling and cool experiences. And I know that people both judge us, they hate us, and they love us.
They're jealous.
But it's the most exhilarating thing, because if you're going to be a leader at all and you're going to open a pathway for anybody, you have to show that it's love and hate all in one, and it's all the same thing on polarizing scales, that you have to be willing to be open to both in order to activate a certain power with it. And I finally came to peace with that. I'm like, no, people are supposed to hate me. They're also supposed to love me, and everything in between.
And your music has changed. Your brand
For
has changed. Ever so slightly, but it has changed. In researching for today's show, I went back to some of your early stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that kind of journey. How has your music changed the most since you've started?
I mean, when I first started writing, it was all pain and dark energy, because I would attract that towards me, and I would write through that. And then at one point I was like, I cannot write from this place anymore. I just felt depressed and sad, and it wasn't healthy.
I mean, even Tori Amos had a Christmas album.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she has evolved, yes. So, I mean, it's the same thing. And so I would start, I play the piano and sing, but I love dance music and techno and harder, darker tones, So I still do piano vocals, but right now I'm putting out a lot of the techno, darker sounds, but they're all about healing. So people are going to watch a song like Take Me for Granted. They're going to see the video and be like, oh, this is really sexualized. But actually, if you look at what's happening behind the scenes, you'll see that I'm the person that's in control, that I'm taking power back. And that whole thing, when people watch that, it's actually a healing video, because I was in negative situations that deal with what you see in that video.
Okay, so that's interesting. We're going to take a little peek. We're not going to play the whole thing, because I want all of our viewers to go look at the whole thing, because it's a story and it's a journey. But explain this, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is different, because you're the, even though we've seen a lot of your skin, you're still like the nice boy, and this was such a turn. I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And so you're saying it's a sense of empowerment. Were your fans shocked to see you do something like this?
Well, I think a lot of people, I'm sure certain people that follow me for the spiritual side of things are like, oh, this is dark. Like, if you watch it, when you see it, you're going to be like, oh, this is a darker energy for it. But what you're actually seeing is I'm taking the power back through the darkness and through beauty and the expression of what we're doing. And I'm saying, I'm the one actually doing this. I'm actually in control. I'm the one that's healing this. So the whole thing is about healing. And even the song Take Me for Granted is about what we take for granted in our lives, the people we take for granted, and also how we let people take us for granted.
100%. We're always giving because we expect it to come back. Not that that's the only reason you should do something, but it doesn't often happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even getting gigs, people say, oh, this is great exposure for you. There comes a time in your career, you're like, you know what? Those days are over. This is my worth, and I know it's my worth. And more times out of not, they're going to meet you at your worth and have a different level of respect for you. Let's take a little peek at Take Me for Granted. This is Derek Jameson, like you've never seen him before. That's just you have to watch the whole thing because it's a ride. But it's so. What I love is, because I love your voice. It has this lyrical quality, and then you put it next to this like deep dark beat, and it's such a unique combination. And then that's in my head. If I was going to the gym, I'd probably put that on my playlist.
This song has surprised me. It's like I got a divine inspiration that was like, you're gonna write this. This is how the imagery is gonna be. You're gonna tie yourself up, and you're gonna show that you're the one in control. That you actually choose this experience, so that you become empowered within it, rather than thinking something has power over you. So that's what you're seeing in that whole video. And it is a drink. I mean, even the water. When we think of water, we think of cleansing. We think of purification. So when you watch the water start to come right as we were watching, you're watching the actual moment where it was happening in the moment. You're watching the cleansing of the energy through the creation of this video. So it's like in the moment healing, so that everybody that will watch that will also receive this empowerment of like, you can cleanse yourself through your conscious decision to be empowered rather than to be a victim. It's literally what it's about. But you know what? Everyone's going to see what they want to see. And that's all that matters, because whatever level of consciousness that you're at, that you need to receive from something like that, you're going to receive, and nothing else matters.
So let's talk about audience perceptions, and I want to talk about sexuality. So when I first saw the video, I'm like, oh God, he's not just showing little flashes of skin, like he's there, and it's like a bondage situation, which now you've explained, and you have to watch it more than once, obviously. But you're still celebrating your body. Sexuality has been part of your brand. Sex sells, like we just know that. Sex builds viewers. You work out for a reason, and it's to show it off, and it's to, you're a healthy person, so why not show it off? Have you ever felt overshadowed by that sexuality part, knowing people are clicking in, maybe that don't know you, to see the body, and then they stay for the music, but do you ever feel overshadowed by that?
I used to, and that was part of that video as well, because when I used to do club shows, people would be like, you need to have less clothes on when you come
all
back
the time.
for the
That's
actual
what the gays
performance.
want. They're like, more skin, more skin.
And I would go on stage, and this guy stopped me, and the guy who managed the club or whatever, he's like, you didn't listen to what I said. And I was like, I know. And I walked on stage and I did what I was meant to do, because I know. But it's like I was afraid of my own body. I was afraid of my own sexuality, and I come from a past of sexual trauma from both men and women. So I was working through trying to be in clubs, do performances, be over sexualized, where I was afraid of expressing my body. Yeah. So now when you see this, I say,
it's an empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? This is fucking me. Yeah. I took off that shirt. I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tie myself. And this is shibari. So it's not just bondage. It's Japanese art. So we're showing the beauty behind it, and I'm actually letting myself be empowered by my body rather than be afraid of my own sexuality.
And I think that's the important aspect of it. And I want to talk about that with you. We see you sexy, very sexy in your promo photos. I mean, you're very sexy. You're also very young too. Growing up, and then once your brand was establishing, moving into the music, how did that kind of thought play? You want to celebrate your looks and all of that, but did you ever feel this pressure to be sexier, especially going to the music side of it?
I think it was kind of always a part of me. I always was a little
let
bit.
it out.
Yeah, I was always a little bit scandalous, and people really hadn't seen that from me, but it's just who I am. And it was just like behind the scenes. Like, I love my little crop tops. I love going out. I love mini skirts the size of a belt. It's just who I am. And that's exactly what I wore in my music video. I think you should embrace your body and own it and run around. And I was like, I feel so powerful right now. I had this like viciously cool black see-through robe with feathers on it, and I was like wearing big boots, and I think it's empowering. And I'm yelling kind of in my music, and we're kind of angry, and it's like I'm so cute and sexy, and then I'm screaming about all the things that are going wrong with the world around me and with romance and everything like that. And so I like the contrast there. But
that was my favorite thing about Courtney Love. She could glam it up, and then she was like a real mess. And I mean a mess in terms of like all the emotions that were boiling to the top, and that's why her music was so raw and so good. And you're also fighting against all the bullying that you went through when you were young, and taking ownership again of that. What I love about the conversation towards women being sexy has totally changed over the last few years, and I love because of the Me Too movement. it used to be when a woman would be sexy, she's like, oh, she's slutty, or she's looking for action, and that has totally changed to no, she's in charge of her body, she's in charge of her image, and that's the conversation that's happening now. And I'm so glad that shift has happened finally in our industry. So I want to know about personal sexuality. You had talked about, and we've talked before, when you first came out, you didn't really want to infuse that into the music industry. You were very hesitant about that. Can you talk a little bit about your choice to not want that to be part of your brand, and then what changed?
I've always made music to like help people in their journey. So when I first started and I started writing my first songs, it was just to help people feel heard. It wasn't about being gay or straight or this or this or that. It was just about people. And so I've always wanted to create from a space like that. But if I said this is gay music and I only write about gay things, I shut off all of this beautiful connection with the rest of the people in the world. And I want people from around the world to connect with it, not just a certain type of person or a certain community. I want all communities to heal through it. And that's where I was writing from. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into like, this is a gay artist, he makes gay music. I wanted to be like, I want it to be open. And that's just kind of how I've always been. It's just an open person and not defining myself by that. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's changed? Because I know it used to be limiting for an actor, for a musician, for anybody really to be out. Do you think it's even an issue in today's culture?
No, I don't think it is. And I think that it took a lot of some of our leading pave makers in music.
Had to take the shots for the team.
Yeah. They and had to open that up, and who were brave enough to do that, because that's a sense of bravery that allows us to do that. And then we go through, the next people coming up go through their experience of like what we have to heal about ourselves in order to follow suit, So, but it has changed completely. And
we have also leaders coming out as bisexual, as non-binary, as pansexual. Like, there's a whole movement going on. And then we have people like Adam Lambert, Sam Smith, Kim Petras. We're not even focused on their sexuality anymore. And that used to be the conversation. It's like, gay singer, and now it's just like Adam Lambert is queen now. You know what I mean? It's like a whole different environment. And so I want to talk to you about that. As a newbie, as this young person, you come from a totally different generation of LGBTQ, and you've talked about, you identify as pansexual. What does that mean for you? Because people, I didn't have that term growing up. You were gay, straight, and then wink, bi. That meant you were gay. You just weren't there yet. I mean, that was it. Literally, that was it.
I kind of realized as I was growing up, I was dating all boys, and I always felt like something was missing a little bit. And it just didn't feel right. And I felt like I wasn't really connecting to the people that I was dating, and that it just wasn't meant for me. And I was like, I think I'm doing something wrong here. And so I came out as bisexual originally. And I was like, I'm going to try to find myself a little bit more. And I had some experiences there. And then I realized that bisexual also didn't cover everything for me, because I was finding myself attracted to people who didn't identify as just a man or a woman, people who were transgender or gender fluid. I thought they were so attractive, but it technically is like an umbrella term of being bisexual. So I am technically still bisexual, but pansexual just means you're including everyone. And when I'm looking for someone to date, I'm not really looking at them for their gender anymore. I'm looking at them for who they are, and it really plays no aspect for me, whether they're a man or a woman or whatever they identify as. It's good with me.
I mean, this is so refreshing, and so it offers hope towards the future that this is the language that our youth has, and the assumptions. It's like, whatever, I mean,
I like people for who they are, and I think you can vibe so much more with someone's personality and who they are as a person and where they come from and what their interests are. I just want to be with someone who understands me, and we just love each other. And I think love is love. Doesn't matter who it's with.
I'm a credit score sexual. Like, credit score, and then I'm into it. Like,
well, I think that's why social media has been such a beautiful thing, is that it's created.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's created. So that's the thing, is you can tune into whatever level you want to about social media. You can turn into the absolutely incredible transformative aspects of it that allowed everyone to feel safe. To be who they are, right? And then they can be able to just stand in their own power, because they're now, people are not feeling alone. They're not feeling isolated anymore because of social media.
And there's a language for it now.
Yes.
It's like, I don't like this, I don't like that. What do I like? Well, this
Yes.
is now a term for you.
It's so beautiful to witness, and I'm actually glad that I didn't have that experience, because I get to sit here and look at how beautiful it is. You get to watch the transformation happening rather than just being in it.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. So listening to your story right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is beautiful to do that, and how you even talking about it now is going to sit there and inspire so many people that listen to this. This is just so beautiful.
And your fans probably don't even think about it. You know, you identify as pansexual, like, yeah, okay. Whereas before you say, I'm gay, and then half the fans are like, we don't know what to do. Can we still like you? I don't know. And your music covers some pretty heavy themes, including romantic disappointments. I'm like, girl, you're 21 years old. Like, what romantic disappointments?
Like all of them.
Did somebody not show up to Chuck E. Cheese once? Like, what's happening?
I wish. That'd be a good date. Jeez.
Right?
As long as they show up, that's fine.
Well, I used to date somebody that worked at Chuck E. Cheese. Oh, my God.
It's kind of iconic. Were they the guy in the mascot?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story. And your music it has many different layers to it, and you have to listen over and over, and then there's like a different story that you're telling in each time. But when I look at somebody so young that's dealing with some of these themes, have you always been kind of like an old soul, like encompassing some of these ideas?
I feel like a little bit. People
Past life?
always tell me I look older than I am. They thought I was older than I am. Like, even when I was 19, people are like, I thought you were 23. And I'm always having people
That's because they didn't want to get arrested.
I've had people say, like, you're very mature. And so I think that definitely plays a little bit of a part into it. I kind of have like I look out onto the world for my music instead of looking in. Some of them are from within, but in the romance aspect, I was like, I've tried everything I can, and I think I've worked on myself a lot as a person, and I'm just not finding what I need or want in a partner, because the way people view dating nowadays is so screwed up. And I'm like, this is not how you date people. Nobody opens your car door. Nobody's giving you flowers. Nothing. No dates.
Well, that's a hot topic, though, because we talked about this on the show. It's like, it's also we're entering where equality is equality, and it's like, I was raised on deep manners. So even in the elevator, everybody else walks out first, or if you're on the road, you always walk on one side of a lady. You always open the door, and then some of my friends have said, "Don't do that. I don't need a man to do that for me." And I'm just like, "Oh, but I thought it's manners, and I don't know what to do." So, but that is funny, but. I also think that you're so focused on your career, and you've shown, you being an old soul, that you kind of have made your own life path. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to San Diego, not working out, I'm going to do this, and then you made everything happen. Like, that's an old soul. Like, a young kid, our younger generation, as open as they are, not the hardest working, and that's just my assumption. I don't want all this hate email, but do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a vision.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in like manifesting, and I think I did. I think I imagined this happening so much for me in my head that I actually just kind of brought it into my own existence. And I was like, I really did put in, work to get there, but also it's just like, live your dreams, like put it into reality. I'm like, put your foot in the door and see what happens.
Has it been hard for your family to kind of let you go into that environment? Because I know you have siblings.
It kind of was at first. I was off on my own, and they just wanted to make sure that I was doing okay, and it's
safe.
It's a big thing to be off in Los Angeles alone at 19, living in your own apartment. And so they just wanted to make sure I was okay, but now they are extremely supportive, and they've seen how dedicated I am and how successful it has been for me, and so they want to do whatever they can. They were showing up to my shows. My sister came and brought like 14 of her friends, and they were all in the back screaming, and she said she was crying during the show. And I was like, this is so cute.
That's good.
I love it. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a peek at Romance is Dead. Girl, gird your loins. Let's take a look.
I'm so done denying, sick and tired of trying, think I'd rather be alone. Waste my life believing where's the love I'm needing, maybe I'll just never know. There's no happy ending, what's the point pretending? Guess it's time to let it go. Romance is dead, but the fantasy of us lives on inside my head, and I'm trying not to give up. I'm so sick of putting effort in. I'm scared back to don't give a shit, and I won't beg.
And I just love at the end, you're like walking, you're like, sorry, there's a house on fire back there in case you missed that. But again, we're dealing with these two kind of sounds. You know, you have that Courtney Love type aspect. The sounds are all there. And then we get that part. And I love when your voice goes to that higher, like, lilt, your vibrato. I just love it. And when you put that two together, it's like we see the full person. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes.
I loved that. I'm so
Yeah.
glad we just watched that.
Yeah.
That was
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you
The
so
song
much.
is
Because I was
really
just like,
good.
yeah.
I'm always awesome
Yeah,
about
I'll send an
it.
angry email and put that song. Or I'm on Grindr. Romance is dead. No. Oh. But romance is not dead.
No,
It's just
I
not
think
here
it,
yet.
Yeah, it exists in like some people. It exists for sure, and I've seen it happen to other people, and like they're having the best time of their lives. And I'm like, I don't know where it is for me. Not the people I've been looking for sure. None of them wasn't there.
Well, it's LA, number one. Number two,
Yeah.
you're focusing on you, which is the best thing that you can do. But I want to talk about your first tour, My First Enemy, your debut EP. What was it like traveling with your music and being in front of your fans? Because on TikTok, on YouTube, it's okay, publish, and then that's your interaction. Then you read the comments, you're like, yeah. But you were actually like in front of people.
It was
That's
horrifying.
a whole different. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me.
I was like, I post myself online every day for millions of people, and you think I'd have a grasp on standing in front of people and being able to do it, but it is a completely different thing. People are holding their phones up to me, and there's all these kids in the front who are like crying, and I don't know how to react to that. And also, I didn't have any stage experience, and you have to start somewhere. You know, I think people kind of expected that I was going to
Usually start with like a little festival. You're like,
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah, I know. People think I'm gonna get up there and be like jumping, and a lot of people were commenting like, "You need to move." And I was like, "This is my first time ever on a stage. You know, I'm just trying to get my grip of what is happening to me right now because it all felt very surreal. Like putting the number of how many people follow me into an actual pit
Yeah.
of people that are actively watching me, and I'm like, wow, you're singing along. You actually know my music. Like it started to feel way more real for me right then.
Get ready, girl. But there's also that scary part where we know social media fans can be, and I'm sure you've had interesting comments, fans can be very loyal. And then to be there in front of them where they can actually touch you is a whole different thing. And you went through this. You know, you take away that security, you take away that privacy. That must have been scary too.
It
Like
definitely
if you had a crazy
was.
fan.
They definitely weren't crazy. A lot of them were very cute. It was a very young audience demographic, especially for the part of the music video that we just watched. There was like a 6-year-old, and I'm like,
A 6-year-old?
yeah, I was like, I don't know whose parent let you go, but a lot of my songs have like dark themes too. And I was like, I love you so much, but a lot of them were very, very young, and I was like, it was even funnier to me because they're screaming like "romance is dead." I'm like, do you know what that means?
It's good to learn at an early age.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm putting them off before they even begin now. I'm just like warning them about the future. They're screaming it. I'm like, okay.
It's one thing to do one concert as your first, but then you traveled back to the East Coast. What did you learn most about yourself, and what did you learn most about the music biz from doing your initial tour?
The music biz is insane, and I had something happen in my tour that I didn't expect, and we had to work around it and then move forward onto the next shows and just figure out what we were going to do because it kind of messed up, you know, the audio and the tracks. And
Are you going to share?
no, I don't want to. I just don't want to put anything out there. I
Okay,
don't want to.
okay, yeah, okay.
I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but we just had to mess with the audio a little bit moving forwards in the show. So that was learning about it, but it can be kind of brutal, you know? And I was like, I felt very bad and I was sad about it, but I've learned a lot about myself that I am a lot more confident than I think I am. But I also freaked out on all of these, and I was like, now I just want a second chance to go back up there and be able to be fully myself because I was so uncomfortable. But I learned that I am able to actually do it, and that was the one thing I wanted to know. I was like, am I going to burst into tears and get off the stage, or am I going to be able to get all the way through this show? And the answer is I can get through it a little with some pain.
And you know this too. You just have to keep going. You have to keep going. And you've done the hard part now. I mean, that's the scariest part. Now you know you can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
You just get better and better and better. So like it's, you know, you made me think of Pat Benatar because I saw this story about Pat Benatar, and she said that Like she would just stand there when she first started,
Yeah.
and she couldn't act. She would not dance or she would not move or anything. And now she's just kind of, it's the evolution of the artist. And I think that I'm excited to see your evolution. If like you're telling us this story now and like what you're learning about yourself, I'm so excited to
This is
see
your
where
first
you
kind of
go.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to
Yeah.
see where I go too. I'm like, well, we got through the first round, so the second one can only be better than the first one because now I know that I actually have the confidence. That's what I was worried about. I was like, am I gonna have a mental breakdown and be able to like keep singing? Because singing in front of people is scary to begin with, and I think people neglect that. And like, you go in front of audience and start belting, it's weird, and you're the only one singing too. I'm like, I felt a little strange.
What's funny because Anderson PR, like they have their finger on, like they know like who to push, and they know. So I'm like, I can't wait till they show this episode when you're like on Entertainment Tonight, you know, and it's like she came out with her memoirs and all this stuff, and I was like, started here, girl. We have to talk about spirituality. So we got a lot of questions because you're very open about this whole aspect of your life. It started off like, now we're in Halloween season. It started like during Halloween when you were young, right?
Yeah, like I said, I worked at a theme park and I was a character and I was in stage shows and things like that. And then I wanted to make extra money, so they were like, "Can you read tarot cards and palm reading? We'll teach
Who
you how to
asks
do
a
it."
kid that, by the way?
They were like,
love
"We'll
that.
teach you how to do it." And I was like, "Okay."
I saw the
yeah.
craft once.
Okay. So I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And they was like, "Yeah, you just learn it." But I had a natural knack for reading this, and it was kind of like trust. I would sit there and there'd be a line of people, and I would read person after person all
People
these
love
cards.
tarot.
They love it. And the thing is, at that age, I wasn't responsible for the truth of what spiritual connection and connecting with spirits on the other side is. And so when I was working with all these people, you have a bunch of people that are full of fear, like what's he gonna say, or what's going on in their lives, the reasons why they want those cards read. So they came with all of this spirit, and I was haunted from literally haunted from the experience where these spirits would literally haunt me. And I was like, if this is what this is, I can't do this. Like, I don't want anything
Especially
to do
at
with
such
this.
a young age.
Yeah, it was scary. It was really scary. So I turned it off really early because I had such a natural knack for connecting with spiritual beings.
Now, when you say you interact with spiritual beings, like how do you experience them? Because I know it's different for many people.
I experience in very many ways. So when I finally said, okay, I'm ready, it was actually music that led me into being able to connect with spirits on a higher level. Like something said, you have to do what you're here to do. And I said, okay, I'm ready to do it. And so right when I first started, it was angels. It was literally like light being angels that would come and help me integrate this. So it was a very beautiful experience. And then that transferred into all these different energies beyond angels. And some of that included like spirits that have passed on from people's lives. So right now, I'm going to skip over years now. Right now, what will happen is if there are spirits that need to be sent into the light, they'll literally come to me. I can sit in a meditation thinking I'm just going to be like peaceful and calm. And these beings that have passed on that are very attached to this physical dimension through sadness or emotional trauma, they will show themselves to me and they'll show the scene of what happened. They'll show why they're attached to this so that I know that they're caught in this limbo. And so when these spirit beings show them, like, for example, just so I can paint this picture, like one day a bride showed herself to me. She had curly blonde hair. The church was really wooden all around and looked like it was in like maybe the 60s, maybe the 50s or 60s. And she kept going like this to me, and she kept just covering her eyes. And I was like, and I would talk to her and I'd say, it's time to go into the light. And she would be like turning away from me. She was so attached to it. And I said, and I would talk to her and I would say, and this is what I do for every spirit that comes to me. I say, you have to go into the light now. It's time to go into the light. You don't have to feel pain anymore. In the light, there's love and really beautiful things. And that's literally very often with me. I can go into a meditation thinking I'm going to be peaceful and do nothing. And then all of a sudden spirits are coming because they need to transition.
And you're like, bitch, I'm on my lunch hour. Like,
Sometimes I'm like, I really just wanted to connect into like consciousness and like the unified field and pure nothingness. But it's those moments that sometimes spirits they're ready to go and they need to be sent. So they'll interact with me and show me them. So I'll close my eyes and then they'll show me the whole scene. and I can feel them. I can feel their energy in my field, and they're showing me what they're connected to. That's why they're connected to this dimension still.
This conversation turned.
I know. I'm like, you're so wise.
But you're like,
whoa.
but you really are an old soul. I was like tapping in, and I was like, oh, okay, this is why we're sitting here still. This is why we're here.
But this kind of sense of spirituality is what you put into your music.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to know your experience with spirituality, or maybe a different way to ask this question is, how do you take care of your mental health when you have a fan base that you have to produce content for, you want to make your fans happy, and then at the same time you want to work on your music and experience that and go through all of that? How do you keep your mental health? Do you subscribe to any kind of spirituality or anything?
I just try to keep myself balanced. Like if I'm really overwhelmed, I don't force myself to try to get inspiration from something, because I never really like the projects when I do that. So I'm very prone to working when I genuinely feel inspired, and then especially with social media, I'll make like enough content to stretch out a span of a couple days and follow along with this series. Yeah, and I can take a moment, and then I have more time to be re-inspired by things. And I don't like to force my songs either. Like I'll just be walking down the street and suddenly a lyric will pop into my head. I don't know why I couldn't say that, but then that's the best moments of inspiration. Then I write it down, and a whole song can come out of just that one moment. But if you force it, sometimes it won't go the way you think it's gonna go.
With your focus and your career on social media and music, what do you know, or what do you like? How do you decide what to focus on first now?
I usually go for social media first still, just because it's so active every single day. Like I wake up and I'm immediately on my Snapchat, but while I'm doing that, I'm talking about the music. So I've kind of joined them into one force. So it gets a little bit stressful because I'll be trying to balance like Hannah Montana, and I'm like, okay, watch this video. Also listen to my music right now. And then I'm like, people know me like on Instagram as a musician, and I'm very, very music forward, and I'm always posting music related content. But then like on some of the other platforms, I'm still kind of waving in the middle and trying to wave them over. So it's a little bit confusing. And
when there's different audiences for each brand, people don't understand that. They say, let's put one thing out. I'm going to post it on Instagram, TikTok, and whatever. It's like, no, you have to shift it. Audience is different. We film this podcast. People who watch the podcast will never listen to this as an audio podcast. People that listen to this in an audio podcast will never sit there and watch the video. It's two different cultures. And I want to ask you that too, because you also are a fitness guru as well, spirituality, and then music. How do you know what to focus on?
That was difficult for me when I was coming into like knowing what I'm supposed to do, and I have to balance that myself, is go, where do I direct my energy? And I realized, just like what you said, we have to kind of merge it together and let them come in, like the circles cross where they need to cross, because that's the only way. If we have all these different aspects of us, we're supposed to kind of blend those worlds together and let it be our unique spin, our unique message. So that's what I started doing. As I said, I didn't have to let fitness and physicality and working out and all that kind of stuff be separate from music. I actually play music and the kind of stuff. I DJ my own classes if I teach them. And then
now you have a new song to add to your mix, by the way.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I get to do all of this really cool stuff and merge it all together. And even at the fitness places, I'm doing full moon meditations and activations on the chakras and past life meditations. Like I get to put it all together because we manifest it. We think about it, we put that energy towards it, and whatever we put our energy toward grows. And that's what we're seeing happen.
Derek, how come we don't talk about the spiritual world in the gay culture?
Because it's the part of the gay culture that they're meant to learn about the most, and you have to almost polarize from it so much that it's the reflection of you. It's people shut that off because it's the part of them they need to learn the most about.
And I think a lot of the queer culture connects spirituality with religion, and most of us have had really bad experiences with religion. Has nothing to do with spirituality. But we never, like, you talking right now, like, we were just like, what? Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I think, like, you talking about this out in our community, I think most people would be like, what?
Sure, because it's all based off of different levels of consciousness. But I grew up, like, my mom was Catholic, my dad didn't believe in anything like this at all, and then I got to make my own decisions. I traveled the world since I was 19. I was in Egypt when I was 19 years old.
9/11,
during
right?
9/11. Yeah, I was there.
What
It
a
was-
scary time to be in Egypt, by the way.
It was my first time out of the country,
Oh my
and
God,
I
and
was
that
in
happens?
Egypt on 9/11 alone.
Oh
And
my
so, but the beautiful thing is,
Alone?
I was by myself, and I got to experience firsthand what it was like in the Middle East and what it was like to be alone during a time of like disaster and pain for everybody. I got to see and experience both worlds. So you can see there's a reason for all of that. And I'm meant to experience all these different religions, travel around the world throughout my years, and then converge everything together, because I don't subscribe to a religion, but religion has a place to remind people of the totality and wholeness that we're all connected to, meaning each other. We're all aspects of each other, expressing itself through Alexander, through Derek, through Bailey. We're expressing the same energy in different ways, and we're learning about the wholeness through each other.
Okay, so I just have to know. I mean, we're totally going off on a tangent, but
So fun.
you experiencing spirits and having them go off to the light and past lives. So, is there life after death, and who's in charge of everything?
Well, you're in charge. You're an aspect of the total wholeness that there is. So you are not separate from that source energy.
But that's not what I'm asking. You know
Okay.
what I'm asking.
Well, but you are in charge. People are separating themselves from the source energy. Now, listen, people want to call it God. People want to call it the unified field in science. I'm in a master's program where we're combining spirituality and science together, because this is
They do go together.
They are the same
Yes.
thing. People call it manifestation. People can call it whatever they want to. It's all pure consciousness. It is all the same thing. It depends on what you connect in with. Whatever spirit means to you is what you're meant to connect with, because we're all different aspects of the one thing that is spirit. It is the totality of everything, but not everyone's going to understand that. And sometimes it takes lifetimes to get there.
Well, again, we're going off on tangent, and then we're going to get back to
So
it.
fun, though.
But somebody that has just, like, I've recently gone through major loss. My connection with spiritual or life after death is gone. There's nothing there,
Yeah.
and there should be.
Oh, then we have so much to talk about.
Oh God, I'm gonna get a Venmo request. It's like, here you go. No, but like but you do spiritual coaching, you do life,
Yeah.
and you've worked with a lot of celebrities, from like Euphoria, The Queen's Gambit, Big Bang Theory. It's probably Jim Parsons.
I just like the recent person that I took into their past life. So Kaisa, the singer Kaisa, her past life, and I've read her cards and worked with her. And then like Kesha, I just did Kesha was.
God, hers probably was.
She
That was
had-
a lot of work, I bet. It's like, oh God.
Well,
where do
there's
we
a
start?
reason. So what's
I
interesting
love Kesha, by the way.
is that I did a session and Kesha was in that past life meditation, and then she came and did a tarot card reading with me, and then 2 days later she changes her whole tour to only love rather than the gag order. She changed it to love because love is the only thing that actually matters, which is spirit in the end. And so it's funny and she posted our cards on her social media, and I watched that, and my friend tells me about it, who's actually probably watching this right now, but she tells me, she was like, she posted the card reading that you had done with her, and I was like, and then she changed the entire tour to the Only Love tour, because it's about connection. It's not about all this other bullshit that we want to believe in. And that's why we go through bullshit, is to remember love. So I've done everyone from Kesha, I've guessed Euphoria, yes, Netflix shows, Big Bang Theory, all the things. And it's fun because I know that I'm here to work with those who are in front of the camera.
What are most celebrities most worried about, or what is their biggest struggle in terms of spirituality?
I mean, I think that fulfilling their sole purpose of being an actor or a singer or an entertainer.
That's everybody on this planet.
Sure, but that's their channel of it. That's what they want to do so bad, because they want to channel energy. You're a channel of energy. You're channeling in different ways, and you know it. And you're a channel of energy right now. You're connecting and bridging worlds together. That's
Entomins.
a channel. It's yes, entomins. But it's true. Like, that's what people want to do, is fulfill their soul agreement. And even if they don't understand that from a spiritual level, you know it from a heart level. Whatever you're drawn to, you want to fulfill that thing. And that's why everyone's here in Los Angeles as channelers. I'm a channeler in the way I'm a channeler. All these people are here to channel energy and to fulfill a purpose to help humanity and to do something profound. And they are, as long as they see that they're doing the profound thing. It's up to you to choose to see if you're not fulfilling your purpose or you are.
That's a lot. I'm not going to sleep tonight.
We
I'd
just
be like,
looked at each other like, what?
yeah. But thank you for sharing that. And again, it's not something that we talk about a lot. You know, I love that us as a community, we're talking about more about mental health, but spirituality is still.
That's the next part. But the mental, emotional part that people are in right now, guess what comes next? So we got the physical, working out, eating healthy, doing this, getting our bodies moving. And then we go into the mental.
Not all of us.
And then we go, but we have an awareness. And
Oh,
the
yes, I'm aware I'm not doing
a
that.
mental, emotional health. But guess what comes next? The fourth body, which is the spiritual body. You'll see. It comes. When it's ready. And that's the thing is people are like, what if people don't believe in what you say? And I'm like, they're not supposed to.
So
You're
I'm just
supposed to do your
curious.
thing.
So, like, we know Bailey has an older soul. She has
Yes, you
connection
do.
to these themes. So if she was a client, she would come in and then you would do what to experience her past life?
Well, I could either do an Akashic Records reading, which is your soul history, where I could tap into your soul's history with your permission.
What does that mean?
I would do an opening blessing, and I would connect with the spiritual beings that connect with her soul's records, your masters, your teachers, and your loved ones, so people that passed on, or angels, or whatever energies you're connected to, would come forward to give her information through me.
But, like, what's happening? Are you holding her hands?
No.
Are you doing, like, a Vulcan mind meld?
No, like I can already pick up on her past life stuff right now.
Oh my
I
God.
try not to because you need permission.
Are you
for
writing
things
this
like
down?
that. But it's easy to see her as a channeler and what her soul energy and her soul signature is. It's easy for me. So, but the thing is, I could do it like that, or I would take her into a deep state of trance where you would see your past lives. And I don't care if people haven't seen visions and psychic visions. I've had people be like, I don't even know what I'm here for, but I'll literally take them, get them into a state of trust. They will have visions where you can look down at your body and be like, I'm a man. I'm wearing little galoshes, whatever it is. You know, not galoshes.
Do you do this on dates?
That'd be a crazy first date story. Somebody
Yeah.
definitely would go on TikTok with that. Be like, dude, I showed up and he started telling me about all of my relatives.
Well, you need permission for that kind of stuff. That's why I'll
But it's a very
start
real
saying
thing. Like,
stuff.
I know
it's very real.
we're on the rock, but it's a very real thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is a
It's
very real
fascinating.
thing.
It's fascinating.
It depends on if you want that. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. People want it. People don't. It's
But
fine.
this is what we experience, like, in your music. You put all of this energy.
Yeah.
What I'm going to talk to you both about is what is your creative process? So when you're writing a song, are you scribbling on a notepad, or are you, like, how do you create a song?
I have a little notebook and I get made fun of for it. I bring it to my sessions. My producer is like, you're the only person I know that shows up with a pen and a notebook. And
Why
I was
would they
like,
make fun of you? That's amazing.
I love it. I remember things so much better. I don't know why I feel like I'm connecting with it more when I write it versus
Yes.
if I'm just like slamming my fingers into a keyboard.
Yes.
It's visual versus, yes.
You just really like when you have to physically write it out, I start thinking better, connecting more with it. It just does something for me. And I've tried a computer and I just literally didn't open it. I would rather write it out, even if I have to scratch it out. And usually I'll like go off of some words that I like and then start playing with them and just
Plus,
see what
when
happens.
you write it, you connect differently than you're typing that's very static. When you're writing, you have to put a thought into every letter. We get pitches for people that have written books, and like, we'll send you the e-copy. I'm like, nope, I want the book. Because there's just something tactual about even reading it, but also writing it. Does the melody come first? Do the lyrics come first?
Lyrics usually come first for me. Like I have another single that is coming out soon, and
Can we get the 411?
It's called Time Machine. But I just it makes sense because I just came up with those two words, and I was like, there's something there. I just like that expression. Like I think I could go somewhere with that, and so I built the whole song around just time machine and being able to go back in time and like switch a situation to what I want it to be instead
Past
of how it
life.
went down. Yeah.
Exactly. I was all.
My mind
Turning
is
the
blown.
See.
If you were to go back into your earlier childhood, what is something that you would have changed?
Oh, I would have been more confident in like who I was because they really had me like questioning myself, and I was like, I should have never questioned myself. I was,
But you overcame it.
I did, but I was like, I could have overcome it a little sooner probably if I just believed in myself a little bit more. But when people like are bringing your energy down so much, it takes you a while to build it back up and be able to look in the mirror and be like, I am great and I can do this because I didn't feel like I could do it. And, you know, people were kind of bringing negative energy into my life, and that's where I felt, and that's kind of where I laid in my bed of sadness. And then once you turn it around, it all starts making sense.
And you make a amazing song like "Romance Is Dead" and come
All
out with
the
your first
anger.
EP.
Exactly.
If you were to go back to your, this is a question on like RuPaul's Drag Race, but if you were to go back to your childhood, not your past life, do you have a past life, by the way? Are you able to do it to yourself?
I've seen my past lives.
Can you share anything?
I get new ones all the time. It just depends on where you're at. We have many past lives. It's just you're gonna see what you are ready to see for right now, right at the moment.
Can you share like one?
I was a Roman soldier. That's what. It's funny. I'm wearing my Roman ring today for this, but
I could
this is
see you in a short
2000
leather skirt.
This is a 2,000-year-old ring that my friend Kyle Chan actually has through his.
love Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah.
When's he coming on the show, by the way?
He should come soon. But it's and so I have an ancient. That's a big one that's coming forward at this time. Is my Roman past life where I was a teacher or like a warrior trainer, basically, and that those relationships are coming forward a lot right now. So, and that's been doing that for maybe a year, actually. So that's one thing. But the first past lives I saw was I was a woman in ancient Egypt, and I was at all the ceremonies, and I was by the Nile River. It was a wild experience to see because I'd never had these visions before. And I was starting to see myself with dainty, nice, slender fingers, white, like robe-looking things at the Nile River. I was at all of the pharaoh temples and all of the stuff. And then I saw where I lived, and it didn't look anything like that. That's how I kind of know that I wasn't. I was like, because you never know if you're making it up, right? But then I saw myself living in a shack. And my grandmother, who was in this life, was actually my grandfather, who was in that ancient
This is
Egyptian
insane.
life. It's wild because, and that's the thing is, you'll get shown these things that you cannot sit there and make up. There's like these details, this weird shit, and you're just like, okay, like it's up to you whether or not you're gonna take the information from it. But it was showing me why I'm here doing what I do now, and that's the important aspect. It's not about what you see; it's about why you see it, the lesson and the purpose in the visions. And so I was being shown that this comes from ancient Egypt, Derek. Like you're here to help people and assist the kings and queens of this time.
But how many lives do we have to live to get it right?
Well,
I'm not in the
it's
right life to get it
infinite.
right this life. I'll tell you that right now.
But we love it. Like we might feel like from a human level that this shit is really hard and we go through a lot of stuff. But when we get out of the human ego, out of this body, we go, oh shit, that was so much fun. And it was this quick. It was so quick. You want to go back and have more experiences. You don't understand it from a human level now, but when you see the exhilaration
So
of
it's
the
our
love and the
choice to
pain-
come back.
Yes, every
Because
time.
I studied like Buddhism.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you haven't achieved it, so you have to come back.
You don't have to come back here.
But
It's
you
a
think
choice.
that's
It's a
interesting.
choice because
Girl,
I'll
we
t-
need to we need
Yes.
we need to sit and
You'll
chat.
see all kinds of things in past lives that don't relate to human life. I'll just tell you that.
Like a dinosaur?
Oh, I've seen the dinosaur.
If I'm not a sexy dinosaur, I'm
You're
gonna be.
the sexiest
If I'm
dinosaur.
like the armadillo one with like
You-
no use, but like the spikes on the side and this ugly tail, if I'm that dinosaur, I'm out. This is my last life. If that's the truth, you know what dinosaur I'm talking about. Like he
Yes.
did nothing but like.
Sure.
The Bowser one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bowser one. Yes.
I don't know. He's kind of powerful.
He is
I feel like
powerful.
that's
He
a
doesn't
good
do
role.
anything.
Yeah, it is a good role.
And his tail, he's always like,
But he
"Where's
can
my
protect
tail?"
himself.
He
Like he doesn't
definitely
need
can.
anyone. He's like, I got this. I'm good.
See, there you go.
I want to know what your from each of you, what your biggest goal with your music is.
Overall.
I know. Yeah, we're both.
Because it's
thinking
one thing
about
like
it.
I love music and I want to produce music, but you know how much work it goes through, and you know how much work. So what's the end goal? What do you want the most from the music you're putting out? What do you want to happen to it? Whether it's a message, whether
I want people to be able to relate to my experiences, and I know that the things that I struggle with, people everywhere are struggling with too, and they definitely have proved that by listening to my music and the feedback that I've gotten. And I love that
fans
I can
have carried
build
over.
a community. They have, which is shocking because it was really was a 360. It was like, what are you doing, girl? But they have really come over with me, and they're like, this is my favorite workout song, and I really understand this, and I feel the exact same way you said it word for word, what's in my brain. And I love that I can find that community of people and be able to kind of take my power back from all of those things that I am writing about. Like, even if romance is dead, I'm like, well, I'm single by choice, and I love it out here, and I might be a runner-up, but I'm first place in my own eyes, so that's all that really matters.
How smart was that? First place in my own eyes. Somebody write this down as a song. That's your next song.
Where's your notebook?
Yeah. Where's your
place,
notebook?
First place is the right. I don't have
First
one.
place in my own eyes. I love that. I really love that.
And I mean, the same thing, community and connection. And that's what we're all here for, is to reintegrate so that we can all reconnect, that we realize that we're not separate from each other as much as we want to believe that we're separate from each other. However much people divide themselves, the idea is to reintegrate back into the fact that we're all here for the same idea. And I hope that anything that I create connects people together, bridges everything together. It doesn't matter if you're here, we just create a bridge. And that's really what I'm here for.
You have an LA performance coming up.
I do. On November 10th with David Hernandez, actually, we're doing
American Idol.
Yeah, we're doing a charity event where I'm going to actually do the acoustic versions of some songs, playing the piano and singing, and he's going to do acoustic with guitar. And the 10% of the proceeds go to a Queer Nation, and it's going to be at Ron Dorf on Sunset Boulevard. And I'm very excited to like do some of this like heavy techno music, but like as the acoustic stripped down versions.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys know that Lady Gaga used to sing with a guitar at Trunks in West Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I did not
before
know that.
she would do Just Dance until somebody came in and said, no, this is a dance song. And she's like, well, Just Dance is like, she's kind of sad about like Just Dance.
Mm-hmm.
She was at Trunks in West Hollywood, which is, I mean, I love my crowd at Trunks. It's not a great bar.
Yeah, I mean,
That's where she got.
Todrick Hall, we were doing shows together at 11 when 11 was
I remember
11.
11.
Yeah, and I mean, we used to have big, huge celebrities come in there to just watch the show. And Katy Perry was at Here Lounge doing acoustic
Yes.
guitar stuff.
Yes.
It's like, just do your thing.
All right, girl. When's your LA appearance?
I don't know. I might do, a one-off show. I definitely want to do more. The minute I finished, I was like, I have to do more.
I think you should do a one-off show, have some guest performers like
Oh, yeah, I definitely can. Have a few openers, make it like a whole vibe, pick
Let's
a
do
good
it.
venue. I would love to. I gotta. Soon.
Yeah. What a great episode. We talk about everything, by the way. JT's like emailing his lawyers, like, is this okay to say? I always look. Message to your fans.
Overall, or
Yeah.
be yourself, because it took me a long time to figure out who I even was and what I wanted. But I always say be yourself. I have a tattoo right here that says live your dream, and I am like a living embodiment of whatever you want to achieve. You can do it. You just have to believe in yourself and put your foot in the door and see what happens. I would not be where I am today if I hadn't made that first step. And even if everyone hated me singing, I was like, well, I like singing and I'm going to continue.
And
I'm
you
gonna
did do that.
continue. I did.
From those bullies, where are they? They're
I
like,
don't know.
hello, my shift is at Wendy's. I have to tune off to this podcast. It's like, they're jealous now.
They might be. I don't want them to be jealous of me. I hope they're, happy for me and can grow and mature
How
with
mature
me.
is that? God, you're more mature than me because I'm like, That's such a great message.
I have that for some people. I'm like, I hope you weep.
Another song title.
Weep, I hope
You're just
you
like a
weep.
factory of song titles. Next one. I hope you weep. Where can people find and follow you?
I am at Bailey Spinn on basically everything. I think I have an underscore on Twitter, and that's it.
I always include Rose because I love Rose.
I love it too. It's very basic, but it's just so cute. I got a little rose tattoo on my hand. It goes with everything, and it's a fun motif even in my music. I got roses all over the place, and I'm like, it's a part of me.
Yeah. Your message to your fans.
Trust in the process. Most people fight the process and resist the process, but the process is what's actually activating something you're meant to do. So even if the process is really hard and you don't understand it, tell yourself, I trust the process, so that way you can actually see what the gift is on the other side.
Sometimes that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
People are in our minds.
Yeah.
Rent is in our minds.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to trust the process
Yeah.
because you don't know where the process is going to take you.
No.
You just have to believe along the way
Believe.
and hope that it will work out for you. But if you hope, it will. You just got to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Because you keep
You
your eye
guys
on
need
the
a
prize.
podcast, by the way. JT, write this down too. Where can we find and follow you?
I'm at Derek Jameson on Instagram or at Derek Jameson Music on other things. Everywhere.
Okay.
All the
And
things.
in the afterworld,
In
apparently.
the afterward on
You want to
all
build a
planes.
pyramid? He's your guy. Thank you both. What a fun conversation. I'm really excited for your future.
Thank you.
This
I'm
was
excited for our
amazing.
reading, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll be. Oh, get ready. It's an activate. Any session with me is an activation. So you're gonna get certain codes will be turned on.
I'm gonna find out it was like George Costanza in like a past life. That's all I'm gonna find out. Anyway, want to join On the Rocks on the Road this Sunday, October 29th? I will be your MC for Palm Springs Huge Arenas Road Halloween Block Party. We got to get you guys booked for next year, by the way. With performances by the Pussycat Doll, Carmit, American Idol's David Hernandez, and the Queen herself, Luciana, who's been on the show. We love her. Go to HalloweenPalmSprings.com, and that's it, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here on the show. You never know who's going to show up. Big thank you to our engineer, Tony Sweet, our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have Dance Mom's Melissa, who's going to spill the tea. We also have Charles Bush, by the way, which is amazing. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing this fabulous programming coming your way. Thank you to Anderson Group PR, by the way. Like I said, when they do This Is Your Life in like
I love
30
them.
years,
They're
we're like,
amazing.
I got the Kennedy Center Awards, and here's my first podcast with me. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, and if you drink, stay tipsy. We'll see you next week. This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.